I love that dog. Nike making another appearance on draft day. Anything that humanizes Bill Belichick, because there is a human being in there somewhere, you just don't see it very often because it could be used against him. It's that military mindset that he brings to football, and he keeps his cards close to the vest. But it's nice to see Bill with his dog, and they got their quarterback. They got the quarterback that many thought the 49ers had traded up to get number 3.
Many. Who are those people? Who thought that? What idiot thought that?
Many were saying that Mac Jones was the pick. And it really is amazing to me that the 49ers now claim it wasn't, and that they just kind of sat back and watched it all. They studied it all as some sort of a sociological experiment as to how people would talk about it and what they would say and what they would do, and they didn't feel compelled to push back on it at all. I think that's a mistake from a PR standpoint, because you'll want to set your fans' expectations. And there is a way to get
everybody behind it.
Right. You want everyone to be behind what you're going to do. And I don't know, maybe they like the fact that the reaction from a lot of the fans that they were drafting this guy who looks a little doughy and his uniform doesn't fit right, and the prevailing attitude was, what's the deal with Mac Jones? Why does everyone love Mac Jones? Maybe they thought, hey, we'll go through that because they'll be happy when we don't take Mac Jones. I don't know, but I just don't think you passively sit back and just watch how the news affects the perception of your team and say, that's interesting. I think you have to actively be involved in how your team's being talked about and how your team's being perceived. But nevertheless, they now claim, reportedly, that it was never Jones. That Jones was the safety net in the event that their deep dives with Justin Fields and Trey Lance, the two guys they were focused on when they traded up. Again, this is the report from Jim Trotter of NFL Media, who spoke to Jed York, reported this as actual fact, that it was Lance and Fields that they targeted when they traded up, with Jones as the, again, if we decide these two guys just don't have it, then he'll be the guy that we take. I don't know what to believe anymore about anything.
Me neither.
We had said that once the pick was made, they would act like that was their guy all along. Now this puts a little bit of a twist on that it could have been Fields or Lance, and then they continued their deep dive. But I just don't know what to make of it. And I don't know what to make of Jed York admitting that they let Frank Gore have a voice in this process. And they sent Frank Gore Trey Lance video, and he loved Trey Lance. I didn't know that Frank Gore was a quarterback expert. That was an odd.
Yeah, that was an odd wrinkle in that conversation.
An odd wrinkle. Yeah. An odd wrinkle that they would export in any way the decision-making process to a guy that played for them at running back and did a really good job and they still really like. I don't know what that does to make people feel better about the pick. It just seemed like a strange thing to add. Well, and a strange thing to do.
They seem like they're, post-draft trying to frame the narrative of what was really going on before the draft now. Again, I don't know if I'm going to buy all that Mac Jones wasn't in the running and all that. Now, hey, they could sit back and listen to public perception and hear all the argument there, because really the only negative thing that was coming out of San Francisco was don't take Mac Jones. So that's easy to sell that to your fan base right now, right? I mean, the guy that you all were ready to jump off the Golden Gate Bridge for, we weren't going to take him. Don't worry. So, that's an easy thing at this point. Hey, I mean, I don't know. I don't doubt that maybe Fields and Lance were the guys they were looking at, certainly. As we talked about, I mean, with Shanahan, I think he's got to be intrigued with both of those guys about what they can bring, to the table as runners. And like you talked about earlier with the Kirk Cousins stuff, off the schedule throwing and those type of things, that's where Fields and Lance certainly have an advantage over Mac Jones with that type of stuff. There's no doubt. So, again, I don't know what to think with this either. It was a very controversial pick, certainly. And we just heard so many rumors coming up. I mean, listen, yeah, I thought I knew my friend and thought it was Mac Jones. Obviously, I was wrong. But, hey, Adam Schefter, he also thought it was Mac Jones. He's been very close to the Shanahan family before, too. So that's where I
Go to book with Mike.
Well, that's where I get into go, I think it's a hard time for me to think it wasn't even Mac Jones in the conversation. But here's where the 49ers are really going to deal with, like, the blowback, I think, more than anything. And this is, to me, this is the thing that, I heard around the league this weekend. Was the big thing is, more than anything here, is did they really have to trade up to number 3 to do this? That's the real conversation. That's the thing that's going to be judged. And we're going to judge Trey Lance versus Justin Fields and Mac Jones and compare them. We know that. But the other thing you can come away from after watching the draft, and I know is that, did they really have to do that? Did you have to go up to number 3 in the end of March and make a trade move like that right then? I've been told by 2 different teams that, Jimmy Sexton was right before the draft incredibly concerned that if the 49ers don't take Trey Lance, because he still didn't know if they were, he didn't know where he was going to go. He was calling around the league trying to find a spot. So that's where it could just look bad on the 49ers when all said and done, is the fact that they moved up 9 spots and gave up 3 first-round picks when you just come away from the first round and you can look at it and go, I think he might have just fell to you at 12, or maybe you could have traded up to number 8. I don't know if you had to go to number 3 to do all this stuff.
Here's the thing.
Yeah.
If they would have started into the draft at 12,
right,
they wouldn't have been a team that we would have pegged clearly as quarterback spot.
Yeah.
We would have speculated they're thinking about life after Jimmy G. Maybe it, just like with the Vikings, there was talk that they were looking at Justin Fields, and maybe that's why the Bears moved up. Would the Bears have felt compelled? Would the Bears have taken Trey Lance if they had moved to 11 instead of Justin Fields? That's what we won't know the answer to. It's kind of like the Daniel Jones thing from 2 years ago when the Giants had 2 first-round picks, one at 7, right? Was it 6 or 7? 7. And then in the middle of the round, and Dave Gettleman, the GM of the team, was criticized harshly for not waiting to take Jones with that second first-round pick. And he said, I guarantee you somebody would have taken him in between. Well, Peter King has said he couldn't find a team that would have taken Daniel Jones in between. Not that anyone is going to admit that kind of stuff. They usually don't. But you can't account for the fact that somebody would have jumped the Giants. And so maybe, the 49ers would have had Fields or Lance at 12. The only thing that trade did was it wiped out the possibility that they were.
That's all it did. Right.
One of them.
Right.
And is it worth giving up 2 future first-round picks to buy that peace of mind? I don't think it is, Chris. I really don't think it is. That with Shanahan and the quality of the coach he is, you keep those first-round picks. You hope you get Lance or Fields, and if you don't, you'll find another way. You'll find another quarterback. You'll find another way. And I don't know how much of this is making up for the fact that they didn't properly look at Mahomes in 2017 and take him when they could have, and how much of it is resonating within the organization that they could have had Tom Brady last year and they politely told him, no, thank you, we're sticking with Jimmy G. And then Tom Brady goes and wins a Super Bowl. And I've plenty of 49ers fans that said, that wouldn't have happened in San Francisco. Oh, too many injuries. Look, you can't tell me the year would have unfolded the same way with Tom Brady, or you don't know.
No, you don't know.
But look at what he did for the Buccaneers, who were 7-9 the year before, and what were the 49ers? They were a Super Bowl team. They were the Super Bowl runner-up the year before. So I think that is tormenting John Lynch, Kyle Shanahan, others in the organization. That may be one of the reasons why they did it. They're done worrying about Mahomes. They're done worrying about Brady. We don't want to spend the next month worrying whether or not we're going to get one of these quarterbacks. Let's just go ahead and do it.
Yeah, maybe. And then, listen, I'm never mad at a team, like for the Giants scenario, I'm not mad at a team ever like that. Yeah, we got a guy. This is who we believe in. We're going to go get it. Yeah, it was an expense. Only thing is, hey, playing the draft is playing the value of the draft too. That's part of the task, part of the craftsmanship of, building your team the right way and all that. That's where it's just going to put more pressure on the situation as Lance plays or gets evaluated and all of those type of things. And, I still just always come back to, yes, Mahomes, like you talked about, did Brady not go in there and all that last year, them saying no, all that. Yeah, it seems like it's all come to a head to make them do something aggressive at the quarterback position. And I will still always go back to that, Josh Allen 49ers game this past season where you could just tell the 49ers coaching staff was a little taken back by how talented Josh Allen was and how much he did off schedule and do those type of things. And to your point, I think that's probably part of what he sees with Trey Lance too. He can do that type of stuff, and now he can do what I expect. He drafts Aaron Banks in the second round, a really awesome guard from Notre Dame. They're going all in on a San Francisco-style Lamar Jackson, Trey Lance type offense. That's what I think they're going to do going here forward. It's just going to be, is he going to start the year? Are we going to do Taysom Hill platooning like with Jimmy Garoppolo? My only thing with Trey Lance, and listen, I have my concerns. I know there's high-end talent that I really like too. He's got to play. He's got to play. That's one of his biggest issues is he hasn't played. So I just would be like, hey, friend Kyle Shanahan, you got to find a way to get him on the field this year. You can't have him sit out of football another year. That to me would be risky in itself too. So I'm just interested to see their plan of their plan of attack here. Sorry.
Kyle spoke with Peter King, and the full quote is in Football Morning in America, but he really peeled back the curtain a bit on the process of watching film and having opinions and then pivoting to trying to come up with negatives and then ultimately going back to the beginning. And he admits that he could watch 2 hours and get himself to like anyone. And he loved Trey Lance from the get-go. That was in January. And he spent time trying to tear him down, and none of that stuck. When he got back to the end, he said he felt the way that he originally felt about the Trey Lance tape. So he saw something there that makes him, and that's where the risk comes into play, because he only played one game last year.
And it wasn't good.
At the FCS level,
right.
1AA level. Now Carson Wentz. And I don't know. Is Carson Wentz a guy that you want to say, well, he went to the NFL and he did something? The book's still not written on Carson Wentz. He started off great, too injury prone, too banged up, and then lost his fastball last year. But, that's part of the risk you take when you dip down one level in college football. You assume that skill set that you see unfold is going to stand out when it's NFL caliber defensive players, not 1AA FCS guys. And I don't know how many years you'd have to be a scout to truly account for how this guy looks against that level of college football versus how he will look against NFL caliber. And we're going to find out.
Yeah, we're going to find out. It's a great situation for Trey Lance. He's got a great way about him. I mean, he's incredibly charismatic. Anything you hear from anybody, the one thing, like Trey Lance, all the intangibles are off the charts. So, yeah, there's the questions on the field and all that. But, man, when you talk about being a young quarterback and you got a talented offense around you and maybe the most talented play designer in all of football, he's going to be put in position to succeed a lot. And Shanahan's going to find ways to really crack the code on defenses now that he's got a running quarterback like this. With his running offense now paired with this, oh, wow. That's where it can be really dangerous and scary. And I could see the logic of Shanahan going with this, because he's going to give defensive coordinators nightmares about, wait, I've already had nightmares trying to stop his normal run game. Now he's got an extra blocker with a quarterback who can run the ball and do all of that. It's going to cause some issues. And I would think, that might help accelerate the process to get Trey Lance out there and play him and start him early in the year. And, hopefully they can get to that point to where they trade Jimmy Garoppolo and they can just let Trey Lance go.
Now that the draft is over, you will see a proliferation of draft grades. My standard approach for every team after the draft is incomplete, because that's the truth. We don't know. We never know, because so many of the guys, for whatever reason, work and so many don't work. We know that. The bust rate, roughly 50%. Some guys become stars. Some guys become forgotten.
Hi, I'm Mike Tirico, and thanks for watching. Make sure to hit subscribe for the latest news and highlights from NBC Sports.